FactsVerse presents. While driving home, husband pulls over suddenly and runs over to an elderly stranger after telling his wife to finish the drive home herself. Before we get into this story, show that you are a fan of FactsVerse. Click that like button. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. In June of 2017, Tara Carter had absolutely no idea what her husband was up to when he pulled over suddenly on the way home, jumped out of the car, and then told his wife to finish driving their young son home on her own while he went running to help an elderly stranger. Well, heading eastbound on the way back from a basketball game, the family had been enjoying a nice summer day. They were about 10 minutes out from their home in the afternoon when, all of a sudden, Chris pulled the car over and started turning in the opposite direction. She asked why the car had turned around, but as soon as she saw her husband jump out of the car and start walking towards an elderly stranger, everything began to snap into place. Sure, we're usually told to respect our elders and do our best to make sure that we can help when we're able to, but most of us are leading busy lives, facing down the rat race of a 9-to-5 career that exhausts us well before we head home for the day, and when we get even just a little bit of free time to ourselves, we want to spend it on ourselves. But that's not the way Chris Carter thinks. Instead, while driving home from that basketball game in June, he realized that an elderly man was having a difficult time maneuvering his shopping cart filled with groceries along the side of the road. It was quite obvious that the man was having trouble piloting the heavy cart, was running the risk of sliding onto incoming traffic, and did not look like he was getting any closer to his ultimate destination anytime soon. Well, Chris recognized the old man as his first boss when he was a very young man. Back then, the man reached out to Chris when he was looking to get started transitioning from childhood to adulthood, and the man had helped him so much when he needed it the most. Climbing out of his car, his wife says that he was out of the car before it had even come to a complete stop. He was on his way to greet the man and help to make sure that his groceries got back to his home with no trouble whatsoever. Tara did not drive the car back home, but instead made sure to follow both her husband and this new friend until they got back to the elderly man's home. She wanted to make sure that Chris was going to be able to get home, but also wanted to be sure that their young son, who was sitting in the back seat this whole time, got a chance to see firsthand the kind of impact that strangers can have on each other when they're looking for opportunities to help in the local community. The story remained a family story just for the next couple of days, until children of this elderly man decided to take a message to social media and talk about it. They started posting about this decision that Chris had made, how helpful he was when he didn't have to be, and how special it was for the elderly man and what a treat it was for him to see his kindness so long ago repaid. It's a message for anybody leading a more cynical life to look on the bright side of things. If you're having a tough time seeing the positives in our world, stop trying to search for them as often as you try to create them, not only for yourself but for others as well. We could all learn a lot from the selfless act that Chris Carter never thought twice about on that hot day in June. The world would be a much better place with people taking this kind of proactive approach to helping their friends and neighbors, rather than allowing the doom and gloom of the nightly news take over our lives the way it so frequently does. May we all have somebody like Chris Carter who helps us out when we need it the most. May we all live up to the example and be a Chris Carter when we come across somebody in need. Subscribe for more.